What is up, collectors? Hey, everybody. This is Josh from Vintage Card Wonderland. I have the very unique and nice opportunity to have a couple of wonderful collectors with me today, and Tony from Tony Talks Cards and Joe from Redneck Collector. We wanted to get together and just have kind of a brief kind of riff and chat about the National, as you know, is coming up quickly upon us in a few weeks. And so what's better than getting a couple of wonderful vintage collectors to kind of riff and talk about their plans and their goals. And so welcome, guys. Thank you for coming on, and looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I appreciate this a ton. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So now both of you guys are planning on going to the National this year?
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
When are you planning for going for the whole time, for part of the time? What's your plans for travel and stay and all that good stuff?
You want to take that, Joe, first, and I'll follow up?
Yeah, sure. I'm headed up. I'm actually going. I went 2 years ago and went with a young man who collected more modern, like basketball and things like that. At that point, I was still kind of 50-50 modern and vintage or whatever. And then last year, I got to be friends with my good buddy Brian. Him and I went together, had a great time. So then this year, of course, Brian was all in, and then I kind of berated a couple other guys that I'm in a local vintage group here in St. Louis, and two of the three guys that are going, I set up with them at shows now. We've started setting up at shows this year. So I just kind of planted the seed and kept going on with it. So now it turned into five of us in an Airbnb somewhere in Chicago. I don't know. My buddy Dan, he owns an Airbnb, so he's in that. So we let him handle it and do the negotiating and all that. So he found us an Airbnb. I think we're 15 or 20 minutes out. I would love to be all in the hubbub down there. But 2 years ago when we were in Chicago, we were at a Holiday Inn 15 minutes away, and I really didn't think it was too bad. So we're headed up. We're going to go up, get up there Wednesday. Enjoy the show Wednesday, Thursday, do Thursday night, then do the YouTube get together, do the show on Friday, and then do the show on Saturday, and hopefully be there for trade night Saturday night, and come back probably in the wee hours of the morning Sunday.
So tell me, Joe, just so if people are listening, the YouTube get together open to everyone, and
yes.
Where is the details about where is it at?
Oh my goodness, it's a hotel right across the street, and I cannot remember now.
Embassy Suites, I think.
Embassy Suites, it is.
Across the street, yeah.
Yeah, it's like right there. It's down in the hubbub and everything. So that's when it was in Cleveland. Not that it was super inconvenient, but you had to drive a little bit. It was an AmVets or a VFW or something. And yeah, I wasn't at that point when I went last summer. I hadn't made a YouTube video yet. I was just commenting and lurking and enjoying it. And, Mike Moynihan, Chris from Missouri, anybody that I was following was talking about, hey, we got this thing. Come out. You do not have to be a content creator. Come be a part of it.
Yeah.
So I drugged my buddy Brian. We went and just had an absolute blast. That's when I finally met Billy Ballgame in person, and Chris from Missouri in person, and Mike Moynihan in person. And yeah, it's a come one, come all, come hang out with us. It's just a great time.
Yeah, I know. I was listening to Mike's podcast today, and he was promoting it and saying, hey, we'd love to have as many people as possible. It's a great opportunity to interact, whether you're a content creator or not. It's a great way to socialize with people, and that's what makes the hobby so enjoyable, right? It's not.
Yes, if you're somewhat intimidated by it, come out and look for me. If you don't have anybody else to talk to, I promise I'll talk to you. I'm very loquacious. I will talk your ear off. So come find me if you need a grounding point to. Because that's kind of what happened to us. We went in there and we're like, okay, we don't know anybody. And then, we started talking to some non-YouTubers, and you get comfortable, and man, it was just a great time. So I encourage anybody who's the least bit interested to walk across the streets there. I think the doors open at 6:30, like right after the show.
Okay. And what about trade night? When is trade night?
So trade night, I believe, is also 6:30, and it's going to be there in the Donald E. Stevens Center. I don't know the layout that well, but I believe upstairs there's definitely escalators and some spots.
It's in the same building, but there'll probably be signs hopefully pointing
it's going to be pretty big.
And what day is it on?
Saturday night is the vintage one. I think they're maybe doing a trade night every night. Last year in Cleveland, it was like every night there was a trade night going on somewhere. So.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, Tony, what about you? What are your plans? You're going this year?
Yeah, I want to first know what loquacious means, but I'll have the comments. Someone lay out what that means in the
Yeah.
comments.
If
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
look it up.
mistaken, which I sometimes am, I
This is
believe
way
it means
above us.
talkative, but I'm not.
I assume that's what it meant. Yeah. So
I
in the
think
comment,
so.
gets a free T-shirt if you say what that is in the comments. Yeah. So
Joe has a thesaurus right next to him,
Yes.
like it's off camera, but I see him glancing at it repeatedly.
I'm hell bent on teaching people that not all rednecks are like illiterate.
Yeah,
We can both be
yeah, you're
literate and
dispelling a
well
lot of
spoken.
myths.
Yes.
that's good. No, this is perfect. I love this video. Yeah, great. So yeah, for me, so I'm looking if I've been to several before. I've gone to Chicago every other year since 2015. I just like Chicago. I'm a Cubs fan, a Bears guy. It's close for me. Last year, I had a buddy of mine who moved there in 21, so I stayed with him south of Chicago, and we went up together in his car, came back each night. So going there again, it's been in Rosemont, I think, every year I've been there since 2015. I'm staying with him, flying in on Wednesday, first thing in the morning, get there by like 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Want to be at the show in the afternoon for the last half of the day. It's like 3 to maybe 8, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll be there Thursday, obviously, for the YouTube get together. Friday, Saturday. I was going to leave Saturday, then I found out the trade nights that night. I'm like, oh, I can't miss the trade night. So I changed my flight actually this morning to leave Sunday morning at like 7:30 a.m., which for me in Arizona is like 5:30 a.m., I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Either way, it'll be fine. I like early mornings anyway. So I'll be there for all those events through Saturday night and then leave bright and early on Sunday morning. So looking forward to seeing people and talking to people, shaking hands. I've been a lone wolf in prior ones, just going there with my list, buying cards. It's more of a museum thing for me too, like seeing all the cards, the smells. It's like the Smithsonian, but for people like us who love baseball, football, sports, right? So had my list, buying cards, didn't talk to anybody, didn't know people even existed on YouTube before like 9 months ago. So now that I've known a lot more people through this type of interaction and chatting in the comments, things like that, I think it'll be a ton of different type of fun for me Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I will look for Joe and his big sign saying, come find me on Thursday, talk to me. And that'll be my anchor point. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not making it to the National this year. I'm hoping to make it next year because I'd love nothing more than to meet you guys in person and really connect and share all of our love of vintage cards. But so I guess there've been a lot of videos about this, but the strategies that people have when you're going into a big show like the National, I think it's probably one of those shows that's so large, you may not have to be fixed to a certain list, but you probably have to go in there with some sort of strategy. You're flying across the country for many people, staying in a hotel, spending thousands of dollars. So you're not driving down the street to just look around and drive home. So you're coming there to hopefully purchase cards that you want, or a Grail card, or a bigger, higher end card. So do you guys have certain cards on your list? Do you follow a list strictly? You go off the cuff? Are you willing to be flexible if you see a card that you like? Like what's your strategy going into the National this year? What are some things you're having your on the lookout for?
Yeah, I'll jump in, Joe, if that's okay.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I think for me, so I am a set collector of certain sets. So for those, I haven't memorized that I need number 13 out of all these cards. I'll write down number 13, number 10, whatever the cards I need are, and keep that in a list. They're mostly kind of dollar cards, cheaper ones in sleeves or in big boxes or binders. So I'll just sit down, rest my feet and knees a little bit from walking on the concrete all day, and like flip through some binders, buy some dollar cards. And that's where my list for that comes in. I'm also trying to figure out what eras, what teams, what interest levels do I have, and keeping it broad so I'm not so tied to one specific thing. Obviously, I'm a Cubs guy, a Bears guy, but I also love vintage history, the history of the game, people who had important seasons, milestones in certain seasons they achieved. What's that card of that season maybe that shows that stat on the back, right? So I've written down some things that show those items, but even things like with the Cubs, I don't have a lot of pre-war stuff, and not all of it's expensive, I know, but some can be. So for me, it's one of my categories is pre-war Cubs players. If that's a lot of things. That could be oversized, undersized, $5 with wrinkles on it, or a lot more zeros and commas than I can spend money on, right? Given what's there. And being it's in Chicago, it seems like there's more people bringing out that type of stuff because the city's there, the team is there. They'd bring it anyway, but still more it's Chicago nexus of that. So odds are I'll see a lot of stuff that is way more than I can, buy in one trip, or even many, many nationals I would go to. So keeping it open to that, but researching also when were some of the guys I want to collect, when did they have cards? From 1906 to 1910. Okay, something in that could be cool, right? Or Cracker Jacks were 14 and 15, probably more 15 than 14 at this point. Or these guys had a few oddball cards in the 1920s and 30s. Or what are those sets? What do they look like? The size, the big, small, whatever. But keeping it open like that to see kind of what hits me. But I'll probably peruse around first and kind of just see how things are laid out in the convention center. I don't want to buy something right away, probably. I want to see kind of what else is out there. Also, being an Ernie Banks collector, I want to try to make some headway on his base Topps and Bowman player run. I've got 4 to go there, and I'm sure I can find several dozen, if not more, in that room at some point in some table, be it way over here or way over there. They're going to be out there somewhere, graded or raw. So I'd probably wait and see kind of what's out there in terms of that, and maybe make some buys if I find the right one later, Friday or Saturday. But again, cards are also not very heavy, so I can buy and keep the backpack and not be like, oh, my back's hurting from this one card, right?
Yeah.
In prior years, I've gone and actually bought boxes of cards or bigger kind of things and put 1 or 2 of those things in your backpack. You're like, I'm going back to the car. I got to drop this stuff off. I can't walk like 2 boxes of cards in my backpack at 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. Right. So this will be more of kind of a single card, lighter weight want list, which is going to be great in my back and my shoes and my knees and all those things too. So looking for that type of stuff. So it's kind of a mix of both sets with exact checklists, but also eras and teams and players that keep it somewhat broad with some flexibility. So
so you're doing an Ernie Banks run. What are the ones that you still need in your run?
Yeah, that I do have memorized. I won't write that one down, but the 1963 Topps, 57 and 58 Topps, and then 55 Bowman, the old color TV set.
Okay.
So
I might have a 57 for you. I'll send you a picture.
This is why we're talking right now.
I might make your list a little easier, Tony, because I got a really pretty 57.
I'm okay buying some stuff ahead of time. If it's all what we talked about before, some of the channels have talked about buying things ahead of time. Do you want to blow your budget on this?
So,
if I find the card I want, that's great.
Yeah, I had Rick Vintage Oddball Cards just put out a video where he's like, oh, I blew my national budget. I think he bought a caramel Lou Gehrig, and he found one on Golden, and it was beautiful cards. So what is your guys' position on, if you do find a card, do you wait for the national, or if the opportunity is right, you just buy the card if the opportunity presents itself?
I tell myself that if I would buy that card at a table off at the national, why would I not, like, if it was a deal, because I'll be the first one to tell you, the national is not the place to go to for the monetary deals. It's the place to go to get the card that fits what you want. Like if you're looking for a PSA 2 or an SGC 2 that is really centered, you're going to have just as many options as you can, unless we're talking, really rare pre-war. But if you find the deal, like if I've had to slow down looking at Facebook just to take away the temptation. And I've also had an auto repair bill that cropped up that cost me $1,000. So my severely damaged lately. But I would tell you that just my advice would be, if you would buy that card sitting at the tables at National, you're like, oh man, I can't believe that card's $50, $500, or $5,000, and that's a really good deal. I would tell you to buy it, because there's a chance you might not get the combination of that at the National. You might find a ton, and you might find some deals, but they're not the eye appeal that you're looking for, if you care about eye appeal, which I think most vintage collectors do. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's well put. Well, what about Joe? What's your strategy? What's on your list, or what are you going there? What's going to the National? What are you hoping to achieve?
So if anybody's watching my channel, I'm a very broad collector. I want it all. I'm the poor man's Mike Moynihan, Chris from Missouri. I like doing, there's, some player runs that I will always take an opportunity to fill in, but I'm less likely to fill those in because I feel like I can find the deal on those on eBay or whatever. But I have lists. So I have my player runs. Like I'm still filling out Yogi Berra and Stan Musial and Bob Gibson and Lou Brock, and I've been slowly working on Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron, and Larry Doby is another one of my big guys. So I won't pass up an opportunity, but that's not top of my list, but I'll have that list with me. But I keep a hit list at any given time of like 20 to 25 cards that are really on the top of my mind. But I still won't buy them if I don't think it's the right deal. But specifically for the national, and these are all digital lists that I keep, I do a tier listing.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, okay, and depends on where my budget's at. And I'm pretty transparent about money on my channel, just because I want people to know that, like, I'm not wealthy, but I also realize my budget might be higher than a lot of other people. So I talk freely about the money piece of it, because none of this, I'm not wealthy, but I'm not taking food out of my kids' mouths either, right? So I went 2 years ago on a shoestring budget. So I would tell somebody that if you got $300, $400, $500 and you want to go, it's like a museum, like Tony said. I mean, you go in and you could see some REA, and Heritage will have some things that you never thought you'd get that close to in a million years. And there's a little bit of swag and free stuff, and you can dig through dollar boxes just like you could anywhere else. And 2 years ago, I went, I don't really remember my exact budget, but outside of accommodations and food and stuff like that, I had like $500 or $600. To me, is like not a whole lot for like I said, for me. And I still, his card channel, we got to show some cards. This was my vintage pickup from the 2023 National, was my Harmon Killebrew rookie and a 4.5. And I think I gave like $220 for that card. And that was my big purchase. And I spent another, whatever it was, $300 or $400 on smaller purchases, going through dollar boxes and digging and things of that nature. And then last year, I really saved and scrimped and sold some things and put together. I had like $2,500 at last year's National. So I was like, all right, now we can do some damage. And that's where I started my tier listing. I thought, okay, here's my tier 1 cards that are comma cards. And I want to, that's what I really want to mark one of those off the list. And then if I do that, and I studied VCP and I got my prices together and I had an idea what I wanted to pay. And I spent the first like 6 hours of the first day of the National looking for that card, and I'll show it in a minute too. But once, and my buddy Brian, he got his number 1 target was a 53 Bowman Mickey Mantle, and he got it, and the monkey was off his back like 2 hours in. And you could see it. He was like, "Oh man, I'm good." I'm walking around looking, and I'll tell you, I was looking for a 48 Bowman usual rookie card. But I wanted a centered one, and I wanted it to be in like the 3 to 4 range. I thought pie in the sky, maybe I could find a 5. But and I spent hours and hours and hours looking for it. And I found the copy that I really wanted, and it was at a larger dealer, and I won't say their name here, but they had it for $1,500. And I thought, okay, that's really not a bad price for me for eye appeal, but it's on the high end of VCP for a PSA 4. So I said, hey, would you take $1,350? I was trying to get 10% off, which to me, I always feel like 10% is not that much to ask. Especially on a higher end card. And this dealer was like, no way, I could do $1,400. Honestly, they pissed me off, and I walked away because I thought you're going to lose this deal over $50. But they were a big dealer. Well, I spent another 2 hours looking, and I saw many more copies that weren't as nice, that were more money. So the lesson to be learned here for me is I should have bought it. I got lucky. I went back. They still had it. And I got it for $1,400. And now I'll go ahead. I'll show it now too. But
that's beauty.
Orientation on my camera, but
wow, look at that.
Centered up. It's got a little bit of toning on it.
I mean,
lots of white in those corners. Yeah.
I mean, the centering, the corner. I mean, that's If I were you, I wouldn't have even left that table.
That's the lesson. That's why I'm telling the story the way it is. I should have sold over $50.
Okay, so most of the times you're going to leave, and then if you do find your way back in a show that size, you find it and someone's already bought.
Got to be gone. I passed on some smaller cards, some $100 to $200 cards there, which are still, don't worry, those aren't too small. I passed on those and came back and they were gone. So that would be another piece of advice, would be, get it. But for me, once I got that tier 1 card, then I started working through. I had several other what I would call tier 2, tier 3. I think I had all the way down to tier 4 cards, but honestly, it was 2 and 3 finished off my budget for the show. And that's what I'm preparing for this year. And it's really going to depend if I can build my war chest back up after paying for my vehicle, on what that's going to look like. But, I've got tier 1, tier 2. I don't think I've even started tier 3 yet, but I've got 1 and 2 filled out.
A couple of questions, and you brought up some things, Joe, is preparing for the National, like doing your homework. I have not been to a National, but I can imagine there's a lot of people in that room. Internet's probably not great. Trying to find comps, trying to get on VCP may be hit or miss. So would your suggestion be for people to at least maybe, have something on their phone where they have comps for relevant grades, so they know going in, if they find their card, they can start to negotiate and they don't have to be struggling to figure out
Yes.
a crowd of people.
That's exactly what I did with mine. For that musial, I had VCP, and I put down comps for like PSA 3. Here was low comp, high comp. PSA 4, low comp, high comp. So I had myself prepared. Really and truly, last year at Cleveland, I don't remember the internet being too terrible. It might have been in a certain spot, but then you could walk 20 feet and you would get it. So I don't remember any real issues with it. But just in case, I highly recommend having at least a ballpark of what you should pay for that card if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great advice. And you picked up a beauty. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess this question would be for you guys is the Nationals obviously going to have a lot of the bread and butter vintage stuff, but there's also those cards that you may never see anywhere. You're not going to find them on eBay. You're not going to find them on Facebook. Do you have any of those particular kind of more niche, low pop, rare cards on your list when you go this year? Or are most of the cards you're hunting for pretty mainstream cards that you feel that you can find most places?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I just want to echo what Joe said too. I was in Chicago 2 years ago, I guess, right now, and the internet was spotty, at least for me, a lot of where I was at. So I'm glad I had a hard copy list and the Google Sheet just in case for redundancy purposes. So that was good. The AC was also not working some of the days
that
either.
Part was bad. That was real bad.
Having no internet and AC is down, you're like already stressed. You don't want to make a bad decision when you're kind of in a weird mode of places, right? So have a hard copy. Like Joe said, do your research. If you want a 2 or 3, see what a 2 or 3 could kind of go for. Do a range there. Certainly things maybe higher, different, right? Dealers may not want to bargain with you right, there, but at least you know what the worst could be, what the best could be, and you kind of go into it educated. So for me, a lot of what I'm looking for, I mean, certainly the like T205, T206s, Cubs, those aren't, I would say, rare per se. I mean, you can find them probably in Chicago, especially. I'm more of like that kind of 1 to 3 grade or raw, if they're that way too. Yeah. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is things that are probably more available at a show like that, especially maybe not my local card shop, but definitely a show like this, eBay, you find these all day long. There are things that you could probably find. You just got to find what dealer has these things, Golden Era, some of the singles I'm getting to create to finish up sets. And then one thing I'm working on too, kind of in terms of big cards, they aren't rare or iconic. Maybe they are per se, but looking to get a 56 Jackie Topps.
Awesome.
Last playing days card. I like those. And also I love the picture of him on the card. The card's great. And that's going to be a little bit more of a fraction of the budget, more of the pie, the pie chart than other cards are going to be. But also 53 Satchel Page. Again, there'll be more than one of those in the show itself, whether they are rough and truck run over them type of quality or they're really pristine and out of my price range. We just got to kind of see what we get.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 biggest things in terms of single card values I'm looking for. But certainly at some point I'd love to have, Mordecai Brown, Tinker Evers Chance, and one of those old, T sets, whether it's the gold border T205 or T206. Just depends on kind of what's there. But again, they'll be there. There you go.
It's funny that you said that because
I was not paid to say that at all. I was not. This is not not planned at all. That's really cool.
Tinker's Evers Chance. It's great because I'm also similarly. I'm not doing Cubs, Tony, but I'm collecting the T206 portraits. So
got it. Okay,
on my list, and so I still need. I don't know. I still need a red Chance. I'd like a Cobb portrait. I would like a what am I blanking on? Is it a Sisler? I think. No. A Mordecai Brown. And so some of those other ones, and Eddie Collins. So those are some of the ones on my list. But that's great. So do you guys feel like, one question I had for you, Tony, is you mentioned wanting to complete sets. When you go to a show like the National, it's probably very crowded and congested. Is there really anywhere to even sit and thumb through binders to pick out cards, or is it just like a congested mess of people that you're trying to even get to the front of a table?
Yeah, there are definitely dealers who deal in kind of big binders of 50s, 60s, 70s, in sleeves, in binders, open up the album. It's like weighs 10 pounds. You like flip
Yeah.
through the pages to find your players, pull them out for $1 each, you get a deal on them maybe. So there's definitely stuff like that. A lot of them will have chairs next to them. Now they may all be taken by people like me who want to fill their sets as well, but they have chairs. They weren't too, they were available when I was there last 2 years ago, I guess. So for me, I don't mind bringing those checklists because I don't mind resting for 10 minutes with the back, the feet, the knees. It's hard concrete for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
flipping through and spending $20 on 15, 20 cards and checking off some checklists, either physically or mentally on my Google Doc, feels good to me doing that as well. Gives me energy to then go back to find the Jackie, the satchel, and get the energy to go do that. So I thought it was pretty accessible. I don't know about you, Joe, last time you went.
Yeah, I'm not a set builder. I was when I was younger, it's what my grandpa, it's my fondest memories. But getting into vintage, I want to complete Hall of Fame runs in certain sets. So I'll never pass up the opportunity. But that's usually a showcase or maybe like a shoebox that I'm going to flip through and find that. But I would say if I was a set builder, I don't know that there's a better spot than the National because there are so many large dealers that specialize in that and just have mounds of binders on their tables.
Tons of card cases and top loaders and rubber banded full. I mean, they can find whatever card you want probably.
It's there. To Tony's point, there's chairs, but there are some people that will plant themselves there for a very long time. But if I was wanting to complete sets and that was a big goal of mine, the National was great for that.
Great.
There's definitely probably not every dealer was going to have that. So you got to find the vintage guys that even want to carry and lug around stacks of cards in boxes to then have us buy. It's a whole different, that's a lot to carry in, wheel and all that stuff too. But I love that stuff. And so definitely there's a chance to find those people, mark them on the list, mark them. They're on the northwest corner of so-and-so line, table 203. Don't forget where they are. And then come back to them later if you want to fill your set still.
That's another thing that I do too is in my notes app or whatever.
Oh yeah.
If I see something that I think is okay, like when I was looking for my Musial, that was where I was at. But I notated, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 cards that were those tier 2 or tier 3 cards that I saw. And I notated where to go back to them because you'll tell yourself that you can remember. I assure you that you cannot.
Yeah.
I can attest to that as well. You may think I'm by the air conditioning duct. Well, there's 1,000 of those things. Which one you're by, you forget what direction you're at. Every table looks the same to some extent.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, I went back. I was trying to find a nicer Walter Payton rookie card than the one I have right now. I was like, oh, it's over here. I saw it. I'll come back in 4 or 5 hours. I couldn't find it. When I did, it was gone. But it's like you need almost like geo fencing to say where this thing is.
Yeah.
And then use my little map to see where am I getting close to and find that person again. So, but it's funny on that topic though. I just looked at the Nationals website. They didn't have this last year, I don't think, in Chicago 2 years ago. They have an interactive map. Did you see that, Joe?
Yes.
That's
I haven't spent much time with it, but I saw it. Yeah.
I went through and kind of clicked a few that I know I'm going to visit anyway from 2 years ago. And it seemed pretty cool. Like it stars them, gold star. You see where they're kind of at. You see where other people are. And kind of could take notes of, I saw the Musial, I saw the banks, whatever the case is. So assuming the internet's working again and strong enough, right? That'd be a good resource. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's great. All right. Now I have a couple of rapid fire questions for you guys, a little more provocative, and I'd like to get your opinions on them. Okay. The first is, do you think the National is still the best place to score a true vintage grail, or has it become more of a playground for big spenders and hyped up dealers?
Okay, I'll take that one. So to me, I kind of go back to what I've said already. Grails have a lot of different definitions, right? Like if you're looking for a 49 leaf satchel, or you're looking for a 49 Bowman Musial, and everything in between, right? You're gonna find it there, and you're gonna find options there. I don't know that you're gonna get the killer deal that it's more expensive for the dealers to show up. They have way more, foot traffic than they do at any other show. So I think it's a good place if you want to find the right copy of your Grail card, but don't be prepared to come home with some, hey, I got this for 80% comps. You're probably going to be at 115% comps on it if it's really nice, especially with eye appeal, seems to be carrying a premium, at least in, the more rare Grail type cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I wish I could have gone to Strongsville the past year or so, right? To compare that to the National. I've only seen the National, which is the big kind of massive circus, but in a good way of like circus, vintage, everything you want from modern 2025 to autographs to old stuff to memorabilia to museums to ripping wax. All that stuff is kind of there. You just got to kind of find your home and kind of find your people and go to those folks. But like Joe's saying too, I think if you find like the centered, the registered, great registration copy of some card, great Hall of Famer, iconic card, it maybe you pay what that guy or lady's offering because that's just what it's going to go for on Wednesday. Don't wait Thursday or Friday. It may just be not there anymore, right? So be ready to we know what your range is, right? Know what your budget's okay with, personal finance, what are you okay spending, not spending, things like that. Have your range. And if you see that one card, maybe tier, like Joe's saying, tier 1, 2, 3, and this may be my local card shop, it may be on eBay, but not this nice of a version. I'm okay Wednesday going in and like, that's the one for me. So it's a mindset for sure to think about it that way.
So it sounds like your answers are yes and no. Yes, you can find your desired cards, but no, don't expect to get a screaming deal in the process.
Exactly right.
That's kind of the sense I get from a lot of collectors. So let's go to another question. What is your plan for beating the crowds and finding hidden vintage gems before other people scoop them up? When you're at a large show, there's so many more people to compete with. There's crowds of people flocking dealers' tables. How are you going to be that one person to find those hidden gems, if there are hidden gems at all?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. I don't really think the cards I'm looking for probably would be scooped up necessarily maybe by 3 p.m., 4 p.m. on Wednesday, but I've got a VIP pass, so I'll be there an hour early. But again, it's such a big show. It's like, where am I going to go? I don't know what's there the first hour to like scope around. It's just more steps on my shoes for me to kind of get my exercise in, I guess. So, but I think like Joe was saying too, whether it's maybe that kind of golden era, mid 60s, that's probably 100 of them in the room somewhere under binders and pages somewhere. Take note of what you're seeing. Take note of what you want. Bring a list, electronic or hard copy. Bring a range of prices so you don't feel like you missed out on something or it's a good deal. Snap it up. I think it's great. The price is good. The dealer is priced it well. I'm going right there on Wednesday to get that card. Take notes where people are at, the table numbers. Say hi, shake their hand. How you doing? How's the show going? They may remember that when you come back on Friday and Saturday, and that card may still be there. Maybe it's not, but at least you kind of built some connection with that person. But my cards I'm going for right now are not probably the ones that are 1 or 2 or maybe nothing in that room. So maybe I'll be okay kind of flying with all the other folks and seeing what's out there. For me, at least.
So for me, taking the approach of, I might start out like, say, Craig Halbig. I think he's a great dealer. I might go straight to Craig's tables and start looking there. But then I'm methodical. I like, and Cleveland was a lot better than Chicago. Cleveland was laid out like a Roman city. It was like blocks, and you could go up and down them. Chicago's like, or at least it was in 2023, it was more dog legs and hidden alleys, and you had to kind of be aware of where you're at. But it is something where I'm going to help or rely on and also help look for cards for other people. So I'm going to be there with 4 other guys. Tony, I'm going to be looking for, what you're looking for.
There we go.
And I'm going to snap pictures and text and say, hey, I'm over here at 800. I'm at Craig Halbig. He's got a sweet 55 banks, and I think it's centered and it's got a good price on it. And I'm going to rely on the kindness of others to do that. And for me, I'm going to be methodical. I'm going to go up the 100 block, down the 200 block.
That's what I do too. Exactly the same thing. Yeah.
And that's just how I do it, because if I don't, I will miss stuff completely. And so I've got folks that are going to help me. And then like last year, my buddy Brian, he knew what I was looking for and I knew what he was looking for. And we went separate ways, because I'll tell you, don't try to stay with somebody. I know it's been covered in other videos, but it's not realistic, because you're not all looking for the same things. You might start out, or the last day you're there after you've spent most of your money, it might be more of a hangout session and let's go here or that. But to start out with, I'd be methodical. And if I had people with me, I think I'd fan out and cover as much ground as possible.
Those are great answers. All right, last rapid fire question. What's the biggest rookie mistake you see new vintage collectors make at the National every year when they go?
Man, that's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth, and it's something we've already talked about. But I think blowing your budget too early before you're sure that it's the one. But then also don't do what I did. I mean, I got lucky. Don't pass on that. I knew that Musial was the one, and I knew I was going to be ecstatic taking that home with me. I shouldn't have quibbled over $50 either, right? I should have taken it. So I know that's diametrically opposed thoughts there, but I think you have to be somewhat decisive, because otherwise you're gonna maybe miss out if you're really looking for certain cards. If you're more open, and I think the more available the card is, to Tony's point too, is like, if I'm looking for a 1957 Ernie Banks, I'm going to get a lot of choices on that, right? It's going to take me a while to find the one, but I don't have to worry about it. Tinkers and Evers and Chance, there's going to be a lot there, but not nearly as many as a 57 Banks.
So I guess what I would say to you, Joe, is before you went to the National last year, you'd maybe look at hundreds of 48 Bowman Musials. Yes. One thing I've learned along my journey is, so you are the expert in that card, so to speak, right? So when you saw that card, there was a visceral response that you had to seeing that card. So something in you knew that this card was different than all those hundreds of other cards you looked at.
That's a great point.
What I would tell collectors is, don't ignore that response, especially if you've been looking for a card. Like last year, I was looking for a 54 Hank Aaron, and I must have looked at hundreds and thousands of them. And then, I found the one in my grade with the eye appeal, and my body, my heart rate, my blood pressure, whatever it may be, reacts to that. And as a collector, don't ignore that. And if that's the card that you've been looking for that's staring right at you, don't walk away from that table without that card, because if you have that reaction to it, some other collector will have the same one, and guess what? It won't be there. So especially at a show like the National, where you'll be lucky to find your way back to wherever you just were. I'm glad you got it, because it's a gorgeous card. But that was just an observation that I've noticed.
Yes, no, I think you bring up a great point, that if you've spent, like I spent a ton of time before the National, I don't know, I mean, over the years, that's a card that I wanted. So I've just looked at copies upon copies, and the numbers kind of, okay, this is what an $800 Musial looks like. This is what a $1,200 Musial looks like.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to your point, I think when you see it and you're like, okay, maybe that's a little high, but man, it really does have that commanding eye appeal. So it's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the rookie mistakes, I'm trying to think of things I did the last few times I've been there that I would rather not do again. I guess in terms of real, tangible budget, like cash, I would bring cash. I mean, people do take cards, obviously. They'll take your bill, they'll take your sale, and may charge you for it if it's a credit card fee and all those things, right? But I usually bring most of my budget, if not all of it, in cash or Venmo or PayPal. So it's easy to kind of transact, pay it. It's there right away. Internet, hopefully it works. They get the receipt, the payment, it's on their side. Or the green bills come out, and they like that as well. So there's an ATM there. Of course, there's always going to be an ATM to kind of tempt you to take some more out, but try to keep what you want to spend available and not to maybe pull too much from something else. You don't need to do that, right? I think having a list printed and electronic, it works for me at least. Simply funny thing like getting better shoes, getting good shoes to walk around, good backpack. Research the cards, like Joe's saying. Don't go in thinking, I'm going to buy a 48 Musial for $100. Like, do your research, what it's going to be, right? It's not surprised at that comma, at that zero that you see that's surprising, that's really what it is. So if maybe you should be looking more at the 1960, not the 1948, given your budget and what you want to go to, right? So do the research, think about it. Don't be surprised about that stuff. If you see the cards you want, go for it. But also don't be afraid to look around. I mean, if this is the card you've wanted since you were 10 years old, and maybe that is, you buy that on Wednesday and Thursday first thing, right? But if it's a card that you can find on eBay, Facebook, card shop, Strongville, you're not too much of a hurry to get it. Walk around up and down all the aisles, exactly like Joe's saying, see every single table. A lot there, you being us vintage collectors, we won't care about a lot of things that are there. Some tables are just this, I can ignore that. Next 5 tables are just that. Walk past it, right? Take notes, what table, what direction, and what get your compass out, Boy Scout compass of what direction you're going on in the National. Take notes, and don't be afraid to kind of sit down, take a break, sit down, reorganize yourself, your notes, take a drink of water, like just make sure you're in a good state of mind when you go and spend that money, cash or otherwise, on that card you want to buy.
For sure. Is the layout of the National, is vintage laid out in a certain section, or is it pretty dispersed, just all mixed in with modern stuff?
Yeah. The only thing that's concentrated are the corporate sponsors, eBay and REA and Topps, or Fanatics and whatever. They'll be together, and the Breakers Pavilion will be together, and you can hear it from a mile away. But as far as your run-of-the-mill, just regular dealers, like Dave & Adams and Blowout Wax will be together, but everybody else, it's going to be modern and non-sports and vintage and everything kind of mixed together. And that's why going up and down every aisle is important. And don't get me wrong, I come to a dealer and I like ultra modern, and I'll look at ultra modern. If it's baseball, I don't do a whole lot in other sports. So if I see nothing but Prism basketball, I'm probably going to skip on that and move on down the line. But one thing I want to echo real quick, Tony, talking about cash, and that is a good point, because you might think PayPal, friends and family, but these dealers can't take 77 transactions in friends and family in one day and not get shut down or something. So, so cash is king. And rookie mistake me last year is I didn't. I had my extra account's a SoFi account. SoFi doesn't have brick and mortar, so I had to pull out my maximum was $20 bills. So I had most of my $2,500 budget, at least $1,800 of it was in 20. So I looked like so when I bought that Musial, I was already kind of perturbed they didn't take my price, but I was happy to begin. And once he agreed to $1,400, I was like, all right, you're going to regret this. And I laid out $1,400 in $20 bills. So that took a minute to even count that. But also to that point, my another card that I bought at the National is this beautiful 53 Bowman. Look how centered that thing is, man. I fell in love with this.
That's great.
And I got $100 off of it, because when I offered it, the guy was like, oh, I don't know. And I said, come on, man, I'm just a fat boy from St. Louis. This is one of my heroes. Help a brother out. I'm not flipping it. And he goes, is it going to be cash? And I said, yep. And he goes, all right, you got a deal.
Okay.
So it saved me $100.
So Joe, you brought up a good question, because I was going to ask Tony this about cash versus just doing PayPal, but I never thought about, if they get 70 friends and family payments, that's going to be a huge flag.
Like when I'm at a card show, I have no problem taking friends and family payments, because I take 2 of them at a show. But those dealers would be taking in, I don't even know how many, 700.
So that means you're using goods and services with dealers, and you're paying fees on 3% on the goods, and then they're probably much less likely to give you a deal, because it's all it's on their tax bill.
Yes.
So let's be honest, a lot of dealers want cash because it's not trackable.
Well, they can then take your cash that Joe you gave him and buy something else for cash.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So
both ways on the cash.
Right. So cash is king, as we know, but cash is really king at the National. So if you're listening, bring just a wad of cash and just let it hang out of your pockets as you walk around, so everyone can see hundreds. And just slowly walk back to your hotel with a huge fanny pack full of cash.
Yeah, and your Musial and your Barra hanging out.
Holding in each hand your 48 Musial and your Barra, just with a big smile on your face. That's a lot. These are a lot of good tips, though. These are great. Now? Joe showed some awesome cards. Tony, do you have any fun cards to show?
Yeah, for sure. Some that kind of represent cards I have them, because I have them here, but they represent cards I want to get because the player or the year on them. So to kind of match a little bit, sort of kind of what you showed, Josh, this is my only T206. This is the third baseman from the Tinker Everest a Chance, Gary Steinfeld. This is a polar bear.
Oh, very nice.
A lot of nice little touch and character on that. Tobacco and staining and things like that. So this is one of the 4 people right in the infield. So I'd love to get something else to finish out the infield, the shortstop, second base, and first baseman there too. So that's that. But then also one thing I'm working on is, I'll find this here. 1 second. It's kind of a weird thing, but here, this is my 68 Ernie Banks.
Nice.
Finishing up the Banks run, of course, too. But 68s, I find hard from afar to tell how the corners are.
Impossible. I've been burnt on them more times than I can count on 68s. Are the hardest card to grade.
So I have several 68s I want to get in person, raw probably, that I can feel, touch, tilt in the light, see how they kind of look, including a Gibson, Yastrzemski, and some other cards like that. That I just, again, you can find them on eBay all day long, but I want to be able to see them in person and kind of look at them and tell what's going on there. So something else I'm kind of starting recently up on is, if you go to the Satchel, the Jackie, and the Satchel cards, is looking at the players who were the first to integrate their team.
Mm-hmm.
We know about Jackie Robinson, Larry Doby, Satchel Paige was there too, but a bunch of other players you wouldn't know who they were. They maybe had 1 year, 2 years of cards, didn't play that long. So outside of Jackie and Satchel, many of them can be affordable.
Yeah.
And so I've got, for example, like Elston Howard already. That's my copy of him.
St. Louis guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Larry Doby, I want to get one with the Cleveland Indians. This is with the White Sox. So 51, 52, something like that. And then Monty Urban with the Cubs for 1 year on one card, but get his with the Giants. So those are cards that'll probably be there in more than one or two quantities, but finding the right copy, centered, is it a 51, a 50, a 52, kind of which one do I want to go after based on the eye appeal. I want to keep it broad because of that reason, right?
Yeah.
There's lots you can choose from in a few sets, but I have a broad range of options with that. But again, for Satchel and Jackie, looking at the 56 for Jackie and then the 53 tops for Satchel Paige. So looking to get those. And then some other kind of random ones here. I like curating and making unique combinations of things, at least to me, what I like. So I want to get a 66 Koufax, his last playing days card, to go with. I have all three of these cards, his leaders from the next year in 67. Wish he'd had a base card in this year, but I've got at least him as 1/3 or 1/4 of these cards right here. So to get his base card to go with this, kind of a nice little curated mini collection of him to represent that last year of him playing, and that amazing last year he had leading the league in ERA, wins, and strikeouts.
That's awesome.
For that as well. So that's a little example of kind of some gettable cards, but also ones that may be there in quantity, but may not have the right exact eye appeal and look to me that I want to be more patient on. So
yeah, and you definitely have some cards in the mix where you have some players with very important historical significance that for some reason, because you're not the very first, if you're not a Larry Doby or a Jackie Robinson, their cards still remain very affordable and not as, just not as supply and demand, not as sought after. So you'll hopefully have a lot of good opportunities to pick up some of those cards that you're looking for.
And in doing that, I'm researching these players too, learning about what they did, how they played their lives, and why were they the first, and what did it mean for them. And so, like, I showed this last week. This is, I think, the first Pirates player, integrated player, Kurt Roberts.
That's awesome.
He has 1 or 2 cards. This was like $8, so nothing's going to break the bank, but it kind of keeps you in the game of accumulating and researching and learning and curating in a way that I want to learn more about baseball in that era that I don't know much about right now. So that's kind of an example of one I already have, but there's probably 3 or 4 more I want to get outside of those 2 big ones I already mentioned.
Are you, do you collect any of the other Negro League cards or the Cuban cards, or have you gone that far back to see, the pre-rookie, the Minnie Minoso or the Martin Dehigo or some of those other players? Those actually do get a little more pricey, unfortunately, because they're a lower pop, but still very important and fantastic cards. Minnie Minoso is a player that I really have a lot of respect for his longevity and his history of who he was. Yeah. And so
I have his 61 tops with the White Sox, and I haven't gone into the kind of Cuban non-US yet. That's why I love YouTube. There's lots of videos and lots of creators who are just have amazing collections with that stuff, and just learning about what they were, when they were issued, why they aren't around as much anymore, how they were kept and not kept, and the players that would have been famous in their time, but kind of have been lost to history, at least to us and to me, at least right now. Yeah. So I may not dive into that here at the National in a couple of weeks, but I love learning more about the issues, the cards, the players, the teams, the countries that had amazing baseball players that I never knew about reading my Beckett magazine every month. Yeah. They didn't in there. They were barely not in there at all. So,
and a big part of the National is not only that it has a lot of great and wonderful cards, it's got a lot of great and wonderful people. So I'm excited for you guys to, get together with everybody. I'm a little jealous that, all of these wonderful people I've chatted with throughout the year get to hang out in person. I feel like that's probably got to be a big draw for going to the National, to have everybody in one place to kind of hang out and share their, pickups and just kind of hang out, because collecting in a vacuum, as we know, is no fun, right? So,
and you don't realize the difference until you get to become a part of this community, and you realize, oh my God, I was collecting in that vacuum by myself, and why was I doing that? Because I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't going with friends, this $1,000 bill for my car, I'd have been like, oh, the heck with it. I'm not going. That's going to affect my budget too much. But now, you know what? I really, as long as I got a little bit of scratch, I'm going to have fun, going and hanging out no matter what. So
yeah, I mean, why else did people start channels, right? We're seeking out some sort of connection, some sort of socialization when we'd otherwise be in a very, isolated environment, right? Of finding those people with similar interests you can actually share in the joy of what we're doing is a big deal. And then forming those personal relationships, connecting with other channels, doing what we're doing now, which is way more valuable and enjoyable, as a collector than just sitting there with your cards and then putting them in a box somewhere for another year, So, so that's great. I think it sounds like it's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' experiences of it. And I'm sending my shopping list. I'm sending my shopping list to you.
Fair enough.
We'll take pictures and text as long as the Wi-Fi and the cell service is working.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not, I know that in reality, everybody's got to do their thing. You guys are going there. You have cards that you're hoping to find. It's not an easy environment to find them in. It's crowded. It's busy. It's big. So I'm hoping that you guys find all the cards that you're looking for. So as we're kind of wrapping things up, anybody have any other final thoughts before we call it a night?
So I'll real quick. I'll give you an idea what I'm looking for. I need speaking of like Larry Doby, I need his rookie. I need a 49. So I need that. That's the top of my list is a 49 Larry Doby in the 2 to probably maybe 4 range, but probably more like a 2 or a 3, maybe a 1.5. It's just got really good eye appeal. That's like a number 1 with a bullet. The first card I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah.
Next is this guy's lonely. I got to get him some Leaf friends. Specifically one of this guy, hopefully.
Yeah.
Possibly Joe D. And again, I'm looking just like this is it's a 1 with just super eye appeal on it. That's what I'll be looking for. Is Ted Williams would be my 1A, if you will, and then I've got, like I said, my tier 2. Most of those cards will be a little bit easier. I need a 52 Bowman Musial and a 52 Bowman Yogi. I don't have either. Those are 2 of my guys, and I don't have either one of those in a 52 Bowman. So that would be my next tier down that I will be looking for, tops of my list. But I'm also one to just completely go off and buy something not planned at all if I think it's something that I really want.
Yeah, to be inspired, right? Have a chance to be inspired. Today, you just hope you don't find that Musial or Bowman like the next day, right after you kind of were inspired.
That's when I just put it on a credit card. I don't know. We'll see.
As long as the credit card machine works and all that goes down. But
and then I can't go home for a week, but that'll be my wife might not let me come home, but we'll figure it out.
Bring your $20 bills, Joe.
Yes.
One by one.
Yeah, they can't track the credit card bill if you bring cash.
That's true.
You can spend a lot. It's all untraceable. The wife doesn't know.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you're like, I was in the cushions of the couch. Now it's gone. I don't know what happened. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's been a blast having you guys on. A lot of fun. I learned a lot from you, and it was very, exciting, stimulating conversations. So I think maybe it'd be fun to do a post-national debrief. Where we hear all about the experience and the pickups. You get to share all your pickups. That would be a lot of fun.
Sure. Yeah.
We should do that.
Count me in.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. As long as
Awesome.
we still have a place to stay and we haven't, taken too much out of our accounts where we can't
That's
come
just-
home and
Right. You're like, well, I'm no longer in my home. We can't pay
I'm
our
still in
mortgage.
Chicago actually. I didn't
Yeah.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Right.
background will be my car. I'm living out of my car.
Yeah. So I'd also love to hear in the comments when people watch this, what are the cards, if you are going to the National, what are the cards on your list that you're
Yeah.
looking for? And if you guys have any suggestions for people listening to this as well, and leave some comments and definitely subscribe to Joe and Tony's channels, both fantastic channels. Looking forward to seeing how things go and in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Josh. I appreciate
Of course.
it.
Thanks for coming on, guys. All right. So let's see. Until the next time.
See you guys.
Okay.